Nice guy syndrome. What is it? How does it work? Do you have it? And what do you do if you're on the other side of it? Hi, I'm Kirby. I'm a specialist in trauma and attachment theory. And I shoot these videos every day to help people navigate the darkest times of life and help them move towards joy and freedom. Nice guy syndrome is something that was introduced in a book by Dr. Robert Glover. And the book is called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And in this book, he outlines his own pathway through this kind of like lifetime of codependent, enmeshed relationship and behavior patterns that he was kind of unaware of, which is true for most of us. And then reaching a point where he began to understand how all this is going on and being like, wow, this isn't nice at all. This is actually super manipulative. And that's really what it's about. So to summarize this, the way it works is basically the hypothesis, we'll start with the hypothesis, is that in Western worlds, men are being raised by women more and more often. And when they step into school, primary school, like excess of 80% of the teachers and administrators and decision makers they interact with are going to be female. And so the hypothesis is that it creates this dynamic where that child's nervous system begins to orient around keeping women happy. And if I can keep them happy and perform for them and do the things that they want me to do, I'm going to get good stuff in return. Right? And so if you think of this in the primary school, it's just like, oh, she says, do my homework. I do my homework. She says, behave like this. I do. Dress like that. I do. And it's like, I will keep her happy because the alternative is she's going to be disappointed. She'll be disconnected. She might be angry, whatever. Right? So it's like, we have this unfortunate situation where over the past like 50 years, where we've literally created an environment where the male nervous system is optimizing for being attentive and tending to the attention and approval of females. And then those young men grow into adolescence, and now their sexuality comes online, and they just say, oh, how do I get this thing that I am craving, from a hormonal instinctive programming level? How do I get it? And they already have all this stuff inside them, all these lessons pre-programmed inside that says, oh, the way that you get approval, validation from a woman is to do the things they tell you they want you to do, right? To be attentive and tending and supportive and da-da-da-da-da. And we're not saying these are bad. We're saying that, in fact, no aspect of this says those are bad things. What we're saying is that their nervous system has learned a transactional framework. I give this and you give that. I do this for you. You're going to do this for me. And what happens, and why this becomes so super toxic, is that nervous system is basically continuing into this place where it's like, I'm going to be a nice guy. I'm going to be attentive. I'm going to listen, give you a shoulder to cry on. I'm going to, make soup for you when you're not feeling good. Like, I'm basically going to just do all these things of caregiving, people pleasing, and hyper vigilant attention to your emotional state. And I'm doing all of that because I have this belief inside, which he coined the term covert contract. I'm doing all these things as my half of the covert contract. And in exchange, your side of the covert contract is that you're going to give me love and attention and validation and sex, right? Super messed up. And I'm saying this as someone that used to be afflicted by this. And I meet men all the time that are very, very afflicted by this. They're in this people-pleasing, nice guy behavior patterns because it's like, I am really hoping that if I show up in all these different ways and I fulfill my half of the contract, that she'll come along and then she'll give me her half of the contract. It is a very manipulative It's all unconscious, subconscious, whatever. So it's not like evil per se. It's not wicked, bad, demons, whatever. I don't really go for that. That doesn't help the situation. But it is, we can say it's manipulative, we can say it's unhelpful, and we can say it's toxic as hell, right? Yet it's not coming from a place of evil, wicked motivation. It's coming from a place of like, I have these cravings and needs in my life and I don't know how to ask for them. I don't know any way to get them. I don't know how to work with another person to get to a point where she'll choose me. And if she does choose me, like the elation I feel at being chosen is so powerful, my nervous system hijacks and goes into euphoric, traumatic overwhelm. It's not great. So this is a quick refresher or introduction to the concept of nice guy syndrome and how much it plagues young men on earth over the last 50 years. It is another way of saying codependent enmeshment. It is another way of saying toxic, unhelpful relationship patterns. It's another way of saying people pleasing. It's another way of saying trauma response. Because see, what's going on here at the deepest level, they want to feel loved. They want to feel cared for. They want to feel wanted, chosen, and prioritized, which I believe is the root of all attachment wounds. So you've got all these men that just want to be wanted, chosen, prioritized. And if you can get them to a point where they feel wanted, chosen, prioritized, their nervous system calms down, their happiness and elation goes up, they feel empowered, and then sure, what a great outcome, right? Except it's being done through manipulative means. It's being done through covert contracts and kind of dishonest transactional dynamics. And if you take one of these men and you say, no, you don't get to do that anymore. You actually have to, before you can interact with that woman, you have to figure out what it is you want. It's just like, she's attractive. I would like to touch her, kiss her, have sex with her, whatever. And you say, then that's what you have to say. You have to walk up and you have to express your intentions and desires clearly. And what do we see? If I've worked with men, I've done this. What we see is we see their nervous system melt. Like they dysregulate incredibly hard and incredibly fast. And there'll be the shuddering, jittering, massive disgust, and their brain fogs out and everything else. Why? That's a survival response. That is a terror. That's an absolute terror that pops alive inside them because they imagine this idea of approaching a woman just saying like, hey, I think you're attractive. I would like to have a physical interaction with you. There's a terror at being rejected. There's a terror that if I do that, she won't like me. She will feel offended. She will push me away. She will reject me. And then not only that, but she's going to tell every woman on earth that I'm a creep and disgusting, and I'll lose all my options. And then I'll die miserable and alone. I'll never have sex again. And whatever, these are all the irrational thoughts of the subconscious. And it happens all the time. And so what does that teach us? That teaches us that you have a fundamental terrified response at the idea of judgment, rejection, specifically of women. Now, ironically, as I got into this work, after reading that book and kind of studying more stuff and working with more people, this is not gendered. Like the exact same thing happens the other way. We're not going to call it nice guy syndrome. I mean, I guess we could call it nice girl syndrome. Sure, why not? I don't really care. But you see the same issue with women, that women are in a place where the idea of approaching someone and just expressing their wants, needs, or dreams or desires, that will send them into a state of dysregulated panic. It's like, okay. So it's really, the underlying issue is the same. I'm terrified of what other people think of me. I'm terrified of another person thinking poorly of me Why? What would drive us to that point where the mere idea of walking up to someone in a restaurant and saying, "Hi, I think you're attractive," is so dysregulating that they feel like they're going to die? That's interesting. And as I started working with people, I have been there, right? So I have my own stories, but it really became clear once I started working with lots and lots of other people and realizing it was just like, oh, this is super common. And the core cause seems to always be the same. And it's like, if you go back in time with this person, you get back to a point where they have a parent, mother or father, who is incredibly critical, judgmental, harsh, weaponized shame, the whole gamut. That you can begin to understand that their early childhood nervous system learned repeatedly that if I do something that's going to make that person angry with me, displeased with me, there will be hell to pay. There will be some horrifying, terrifying, scary event will happen. Immediately after that, I'll be beaten, I'll be shamed, I'll be abandoned, I'll be sent to my room without dinner, I'll be disconnected from, I'll be told that I'm horrible. Something like that will happen. That is just utterly terrifying for my nervous system. And because that happened with this critical parent, that child is now stuck in this loop of people pleasing. How do I'm going to monitor what everyone's thinking, or everyone around me, I'm going to monitor what they're thinking or doing and talking about, and what they express joy about and what they express disgust at, and blah, blah, blah. And my brain is tracking all this stuff so that when it comes to a point, just in case I get to a point where I'm interacting with this one person and I need to please them, I need to be nice to them, I need to give them what they want so that they approve of me. My brain is tracking all of that and consuming tremendous amounts of calories to do it. I'm going to do that so that I can show up for them in a way that they will approve of me, that they will welcome me, that they will bring me closer, that they will wrap me in maybe it's a hug, maybe it's just a community of support and you're with us, a tribe. And that's what we do. People pleasing is a trauma response. It is an adaptive survival mechanism, because in our earliest years of life, we learned that being wrong and having someone upset with us was a terrifying existential threat to our existence. And then that people pleasing turns into nice guy syndrome. And then without any other strategies, without any other input, without anyone introducing or modeling a different way to be, that nervous system and that brain says, this is the way we do things. I need to give these things, validation, attention, support, love, blah, 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 blah. And then you're going to give me the stuff that helps me feel validated. And one of those is coming towards me and consenting to choose me for a physical, intimate, sexual engagement. Because that's a very, very powerful validating energy. Like to have someone that will drive across town and sit next to me in a coffee shop and we share a couple of cups of coffee and we talk about our relationships and whatever. That's one type of validation, and it's beautiful and wonderful and loving and everything else. But deep down, our nervous system knows that if after that we go to a room and disrobe and then, we engage in sexual relations, that's a different level of validating energy. At least that's what it's been historically. Like in modern day hookup culture, those values are kind of being all rearranged, and the values of those are kind of being shifted around a lot. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. No judgment there. It's just that it's creating confusion, especially because we have both systems online at once. We've got the old system, which is sexual contact is kind of the pinnacle of validating energy. And then we have this other group that's saying nah, sexual contact's just this physical thing you do, like going to the gym, and it means nothing. And so that's fine in each separate group. But when one person from each group bangs into each other, they have this huge difference in value hierarchy. and it creates incompatibility. That's a brief tangent on that, but you get down to the point of understanding the nice guy syndrome, and you understand that it is covert contracts, people pleasing, hypervigilance, codependent enmeshment, and it creates toxic situations. So what do we do about it? It's the same thing I say in so many of my videos. The answer to all of this is to pull away from this addictive attention we have to the other and the attention and validation from other people. We have to pull away from that. We have to like cut ourselves off from that source, that fix. And we have to like come inward and say, what am I doing here? What am I seeking? What am I craving? What am I desiring? Why am I engaging in relationship with this person? What's going on? And we do that, and we begin to understand where our real, true, deep fears are. I have a tremendous fear of being abandoned. I have a tremendous fear of being alone. I have a tremendous, and even those are not even to the bedrock yet. That's still like a cover story. The real cover story is I am terrified at believing that I'm bad and unworthy and unlovable and undesirable. I'm terrified of that. And if someone leaves me or abandons me or judges me or whatever, that brings those feelings, my shadow feelings, up to the surface. And now I have to deal with that. I have to sit here and come face to face with the idea that like, yeah, maybe I am unattractive. Maybe I am unlovable. Maybe I am a jerk. Maybe I do treat people poorly. Maybe I am more avoidant than I think I am. Ugh. Right? I have to come face to face with those things. And that's entirely an inside job. And in doing that and facing those fears and really beginning to normalize the fear, normalize the situation, and reach the point where I'm like, being unattractive is not the end of the world. Being undesirable that's okay. It means there's some things some options I wish I had that simply are not there. Those are not options for me. Life's not fair. Right? But I can navigate through those situations in a place of grace and calm, grounded security and be like, okay, this is what's going on. And this is who I am, and this is the reality I'm in. And as we begin to do our own work in that way, we become more of a complete and whole individual and identity in myself that's grounded and secure in who I am and where I am in this world. And then I get to walk out into relationship with others and say, I don't feel that compulsion to please this woman over and over and over again. Like I can stop engaging in the nice guy behavior patterns for the purpose of manipulation and transactional getting what I want. I can still engage in the support and validation and love and the shoulder to cry on. I can still engage in all those things, but they're no longer done with the express purpose of getting something in return. They're now done with the express purpose of just being supportive and loving for another human being that's going through a rough time. That makes me a better person. That opens my heart, allows our relationships to deepen and enrich themselves, and we both move towards a life of joy and freedom and healthy connection. And what better thing is there? So that's kind of a quick summary, not so quick summary of nice guy syndrome, how it affects us and how it kind of shows up in all the various ways in life. If this is you, go read the book and then reach out to someone who's an attachment specialist like myself, and there's many others. And we're here for you. And we understand the dynamics of this stuff deeply. We've studied it immensely. And especially if you can talk to someone who is a former nice guy like myself, and I'm sure there's many others. Go read the book, find an attachment specialist, get to work. Because in 6 months to a year, your life will be different. Things will change. and you will begin to see how these fears that live inside you have been pushing you around kind of without your consent for a long time. And having them evaporate or loosen or lighten or whatever, having that happen is immensely satisfying and exciting, a little bit scary, but definitely exciting. And then the future relationships you step into are going to be that much healthier. And it's really, really an amazing thing. So I wish you the best. And I believe you can do this. Peace.